Welcome to the new sound of online radio. Welcome to the sound of Universal Broadcasting Network. 'Cause you make me feel like I've been locked out of heaven. A mix of today's hits and hard-to-find favorites, combined with the most entertaining and intriguing talk anywhere. This is your sound. This is the sound of Universal Broadcasting Network at UENradio.com.
And good afternoon, everyone. You have tuned in to Distill It, a 360-degree view of life in sports. As always, every 2 weeks, we are so happy to be here. My name is Wendy Rosenthal, and I am here with my illustrious co-host, my friend, my business partner. I'm going to not say her name today.
My name is Eira Schwitzer.
Thank you.
The illustrious Eira Schwitzer. I like that.
The illustrious Eira Schwitzer. So we are very happy to be here today to continue on talking about a topic we started a couple weeks ago. First of all, we just want to say we're always happy when we can be here in the UBN studios. We actually are starting to become it's like part of the family. It's like our, not second home, but maybe third or fourth, which is really nice.
It's nice to have multiple homes.
It is.
Or to at least feel at home when
you come someplace.
when you come someplace.
Exactly. So we really felt like our topic around parenting and sports deserved a couple of sessions. I actually think it would deserve about 30 more. I think we can take
People
it
had
from
lots of questions.
Lots of questions and lots of angles, and you know, we are parents and we're starting to face these things. So for us, it's a topic that is educating and enlightening for me, and I know for you. Both of our kids are big sports fans.
I've just signed up both of my kids for AYSO, and it's been really fun to have. They send out these newsletters each week, and more than half of what they're addressing is all about how to be
a good sports parent.
How to support your child, how to do X, Y, and Z. And I'm thinking, they've been around for decades, so you can only imagine
what
the stories they have to rely on. Exactly. That requires them to put together these newsletters to send out to all of us weekly. I mean, really, it's constant.
And you didn't bring them all in, so you could share it with us. Thank you so much. You could have done.
But I feel well prepared now to show up for the first game.
Good. Well, for those of you who might be joining us for the first time, our show is really about all aspects of sports. We talk a little bit about maybe the game that happened the other day or something that was interesting in the world of sports, but really what we look at is everything around it, inside, outside, from home athletes to professional sports. We really believe that sports is kind of a metaphor for life. So when you're here talking with us about sports, you're talking about life as well. So we thank you, and Eira and I are both the co-owners and partners of a company called the Distillery Inc. We work with athletes as they transition from their careers in sports to a career after sports, because we really believe that everybody deserves to have a fulfilling life after a fulfilling life.
Yeah,
why can't you have more than one, right?
Exactly.
And that's why we're here, because we love really talking about sports. I want to say hello to our security blanket, and for those of you who know us, you know that our security blanket is Jarvis, the extraordinary engineer.
Hello,
Jarvis.
Hi.
You had a good weekend.
Yeah, I did.
You were telling us a little bit about your Taste of LA experience.
Yeah, the Taste of LA. It was great.
What was the best thing you ate?
French fries and milkshake?
No, that was today.
No, that was today.
They had like a roll with crab and lobster, like some type of little bisque on top of the roll, and it was a buttery roll.
Wow.
Oh my God.
Good stuff.
It was great.
You should see. I wish everybody could see the look on Jarvis's face right now. It'd be very
mouth-watering.
Listen.
That's so cool.
Yeah, if you're listening, go to the Taste of LA.
Oh, is it
it's
still
worth
on?
it. No, I think it ended. I think it was just for the weekend. But I think they do it every year.
Yeah.
He's teasing.
And this year was supposed to be amazing, so keep
Okay.
it in mind for next year.
All right. Well, first of all, I want to talk about the fact that we are having a call-in guest who's going to help us talk about parenting in sports this week. We're really focusing kind of on that journey from youth athletics to possibly professional sports and all of the things that can happen along the way. And joining us in a few minutes is a professional baseball instructor who has worked with a number of kids. I'm going to let him tell you all more about it when he gets on, but has worked with over 1,300 kids in his career, many of whom have made it to the major leagues.
Yeah.
Mike Cicione, he's going to be here in a few minutes, and I'm really excited to hear what he has to say. I'm also very excited because he actually coached my brother. So the best part is I'm hoping that he will have a couple of funny stories about my dad. No, my dad. I mean, my brother, my dad, along the way. Like, how was he as a parent of a young athlete? I know what I would say, but, we'll leave that till another time. No, I love you, Dad.
So you think you might blame your father for not having gotten your brother to the pros and taken a Major League Baseball career?
No, but he might just have some good funny stories that I can bring around the family table afterwards.
Tease him about.
Tease him about. As always, I wear a different hat every week, or at least I try to. And this week, even though I am not a Chicago Cubs fan, I want it to be said, I'm an LA Dodger fan.
Yep.
But this is one of my son's favorite hats, and I figured since this is a parenting show that I could, connect with my son, and so I'm wearing my son's Chicago Cubs hat. Thank you for loaning it to me, David. It's much appreciated. And as always, we spend a couple of minutes talking about kind of what's been going on in sports for the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, lots of good stuff.
I know there's something that is very heavily weighted on your mind that you want to share.
Well, yes. Let's just talk about how distressed I was on Saturday when, despite heroic efforts on behalf of many, many people around lunch on Saturday, we could not get ourselves to watch the USC Trojans play. We could watch just about any other game across the nation, but here in Los Angeles, we could not watch the Trojans play.
It was
excruciating.
Excruciating and ridiculous.
I mean, we were beyond shocked. I mean, we could not tune in anywhere and watch it on TV.
Yep.
Streaming didn't work. I mean, we all sat around. You laughed at us.
I was there.
Sat around the radio.
Yeah.
We listened to the game on the radio.
Which, is a nice throwback.
It's fun. It's a nice throwback, but we could not watch it on TV, and that's absolutely appalling.
And I just want to say for the record, UCLA's game was on television.
Yes.
On Sunday.
Yeah.
So why are they getting better TV coverage than we are? It's just, in case you didn't notice, Eira and I are USC alum.
Yeah.
It was very, very distressing. I want to also talk about, though, the fact that the game, we won. You were not happy about how we won, though.
I was not happy. We did not look as well. I was hoping for more, let's just say. We struggled.
We struggled.
I mean, that last quarter, everything turned around. It was great, but we really,
I'm putting it up to a lot of pressure being put on the team. Just,
Sure.
press and Sam Darnold being a early Heisman candidate.
Yeah.
And, it's a lot. So I'm going to give them that.
It's early. It's early.
It's early days. And we did chalk up a win.
And we chalked up a win.
Okay.
Exactly. Can't complain.
Other games that we wanted to talk about. We have to talk about the UCLA game. I got to tell you, anybody who knows me that's watching this show knows that when I was at USC, I used to drag a Bruin on a noose right near the big game. Like, I'm not a UCLA fan by any stretch of the imagination. As I've gotten older, I can suck it up and I can actually work with people who went to UCLA and I can appreciate it.
Yes.
But
You're cordial.
I'm cordial.
Yeah.
I don't know if you were as vehemently against the Bruins when you were there.
I was not. I was just wanted to watch a good game.
You didn't carry the noose with the teddy bear. Okay.
No.
My illness then.
Yeah.
Sorry. But they played an amazing game this weekend.
It was wild.
I mean, unbelievable.
Josh Rosen, under pressure is just phenomenal. Phenomenal.
But the whole team, it's like, I don't know what happened.
Yeah.
I mean, we turned away. We started watching the West Virginia game.
Yeah.
And we were like, this is it. They're done. It's
exactly.
over. And we went back like maybe 10 minutes left to go in the game. It was like, what the hell happened? It's like, it was absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
So, props at what it shows me and what is something that we talk about a lot, especially to our clients, is that, you first of all, never count yourself out.
Right.
And that you can always find it within you to step up when you need to.
To rely on exactly what you have trained to do.
Exactly.
Stick to what you know how to do, what you practiced for. You show up and you perform exactly the way you've practiced.
Every time.
You rely on that. It's innate. It was phenomenal to watch this kid out there.
Yeah.
It was just wild.
And to rally his team as well.
Yeah.
So I reluctantly send props to the whole UCLA football team.
For giving us a good game.
For giving us a great game. We do appreciate it. We want to say a quick congratulations to Serena Williams, who had a baby girl last week. Very exciting for her and her family. And then one other thing that I really was impressed by, we could spend a few minutes talking about Hurricane Harvey. Everybody's heard about it. It's tragic what's happened in Houston. There's other major catastrophes around the world as well. But what's so interesting about Hurricane Harvey is the way that sports teams and athletes have really stepped up to the plate.
Sure. Bring in really big money.
Really big money. Yeah. So I went online to see if I could find anything out about who's given what. And just, J.J. Watt alone, who is a Houston Texan, so, and probably the most popular and famous of all of the team, started a fund. He put in $100,000 personally, but the fund has raised over $14 million.
It's a huge testament to the power of these athletes. I mean, their reach is
phenomenal.
Enormous, yeah.
Chris Paul from the Houston Rockets, $50,000. What's interesting is it's run now across all sports.
Right.
So it's not just football or, baseball.
Yeah.
I mean other cities, not just the Houston athletes.
Yeah.
Scott Kazmir, LA Dodgers, $130,000.
Sure.
Many of the team owners personally have either put in money or have pledged over $1 million from the teams. Dallas Cowboys, $1.1 million.
Yeah.
Jerry Jones, Bob McNair, the Houston Texans owner, over $1 million. Robert Kraft, he's doing matching of $1 million to whatever the American Red Cross raises.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. And I think this will be a future show, philanthropy in sports.
Sports, absolutely. And so much of the time where our attention in terms of, professional athletes is how much money they're asking for and what their contracts look like and how they're spending money. But to be able to highlight exactly how they go out and use their fame and,
the list, it's
an audience reach you're bringing money
it's a long list.
It is a long list.
It's a really long list, which
goes on and on.
It makes me really proud to be a sports fan.
Yeah.
Actually, to see how the players and the teams are really stepping up.
Yeah, doing some really good work.
Yeah.
Nice.
So while we wait for Mike Mike's here.
Mike's on.
Awesome. Then I want to welcome Mike Cicione. Can you hear us?
How are you, Wendy?
Hi there.
It's been a long time since I heard that.
Yeah. We're lucky. We have Jarvis. He plays it for us every other week.
Whether or not we deserve the applause, we get the applause.
First of all, Mike, I want to thank you so much for calling in. I assume that you're still at the batting cage, as you promised you might be, right?
You got it.
Awesome.
Actually, I just got home. How are you guys today?
We're great. We are fantastic. I have to, before I even let you say one word, I have to tell you my dad and my stepmom send their love and regards and thanks. And that you might hear from them. I don't know. But if nothing else,
that was what I will say is that was the best time of my life as far as baseball goes, is being with your family.
Oh, wow.
Fun.
I'm honored. Yeah. They're pretty.
No, really. I adore your father. We worked side by side for years while David was growing up. And he's a character, but one of the most loyal friends that I've ever had in my life, and I miss him every day.
Well, if he's watching, he will have heard that, and if he watches this later, he'll hear it again, and I think he feels the same way. So I really want to thank you for being here. Mike, we wanted you here, and I would love for you to take a minute to tell us a little bit about yourself. The reason we wanted you here is because we've been talking for the last couple of weeks about parenting in sports and the challenges that come with raising a kid that loves to play sports, that could be actually elite in a particular sport, how to guide them, and some of the challenges that coaches face, that kids face with their parents. And I think we really want to get into that because I'm sure you see a lot of parents that actually don't do their kids any favors.
Right.
But before we start asking you questions, can you give us a couple of minutes about, your background, who you are, and what you're up to?
Sure. I graduated from Montclair Prep in the Valley and played alongside Tori Lavello. Tori and I grew up at Encino Little League and went to Montclair Prep together. I played short, Tori played second, and, as we all know, what happened with Tori with his coaching career has been nothing short of remarkable.
Yep.
After Montclair Prep, I went to Los Angeles Valley College, was drafted by the San Francisco Giants, played 3 years in the minor leagues, and then went into coaching. And it's been a journey. It's been busy. There's definitely a market out there, and it's been a wonderful journey.
Well, just the fact that, in doing this show, we do a lot of research, and just the fact that you made it to the minor leagues even is amazing, that you were drafted. And we know that that is not an easy task on any level.
Right.
So why did you switch to coaching?
I mean, the minor leagues kind of set me up for, I think that I saw both the good and the bad. I saw I had great coaches in the minor leagues, and I had some coaches that weren't so great. And I sort of learned the personal side of coaching while I was in the minor leagues and wanted to kind of, move forward with it.
Well,
Hello?
Hi,
Oh.
Can you hear us?
Yeah, I got you.
So now you're coaching kids starting at what age?
8 to 18.
Okay. And so you're seeing a lot of them off into the college years as well.
Right. We just had David actually played on one of my wave teams in California. And my last wave team in California just graduated college. And we had a third-round pick from Loyola High School. Quinn Brody was the third-round pick of the New York Mets in June.
That's fantastic. So we
have a great list of alumni. Kelly Dugan, who plays Double-A for the Arizona Diamondbacks. We've got Quinn Brody with the Mets. Lucas Giolito just got his first win with the Chicago White Sox.
So great.
Matt Tunian was drafted in the 30th round by the Braves. So we've put together a pretty good program throughout the years, and we're trying to build it here in Georgia as well.
Well, that's why we wanted you here, because we know that you've been around and seen a lot and impacted kids' lives. Yeah. And, we were going to show a video. We might get to it in a little bit, but I read this great article about Coach Geno at UConn. Are you familiar with him? And he was talking about how it's really hard for him and others to recruit kids today that are like really enthusiastic about sports, that feel like they're a part of a team, that aren't kind of me. And, one of the things that he comments on is that it's reinforced, unfortunately, a lot by parents. So I ask you, I mean, you're seeing a ton of kids and you're around their parents. Is that a trend that you're seeing as well?
I think it's getting worse and worse, having done this for 27 years, and seeing it's very cyclical, as far as technique goes and parenting as well. When I started with travel baseball was not, it wasn't as huge as it is today. And I come across a lot of parents that put a lot of money. So there's more than just this sort of emotional attachment to their child. It's actually an investment now.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, there's way too many parents kind of living through their kids instead of just allowing their kids to live.
So if that's happening, the question I have is how do you as a parent make a decision about investing in your kid? Because if you're starting at 8 or 9, that's a young age to make an investment, especially in one sport. Are there parents that are taking that decision because it's really about them, or are they seeing something, or are they getting advice from another coach that says, this kid really needs to be, fostered and it's time to get a professional instructor or push them harder?
Obviously it depends on the kid, but there are a lot of kids out there that absolutely want to be as invested as their parents want them to be, and there's others that don't, that just really don't have that sort of inner hunger to become a professional athlete. I mean, we all know what the odds are. They're super, super slim.
Yeah.
So what I see more often than not is kind of keeping up with the Joneses, where if Jimmy's taking lessons, then Joey's going to take lessons. And it's sort of a domino effect. And we see kids that all the time come into my batting cage that don't want to be there, but the parents make them go.
It's so painful. Can you talk to us a bit about?
It really is a sort of a sad state of affairs,
Yeah.
But and then you've got other kids that are just dying. They want to stay late. They want to
Sure.
keep working. They're interested. They look you in the eyes when you're talking. And, those kids, some of them have the talent, some of them don't. Most of them don't, actually.
Right.
But, if they're passionate about it, with my kids, if they're passionate about something that's healthy, I back it 100%.
Yeah.
So, not all parents out there are doing the wrong thing.
Sure. But can you talk to us a bit then about what an impact it really does make? If you've got two kids who, by all accounts, age 9, let's say, seem to have similar set of skills, both seem particularly passionate and excited about playing baseball. How much better is a child whose parents are able to invest hundreds, if not thousands of dollars on private training?
You're definitely at a disadvantage if you're not getting good coaching at a young age. The kids that are exposed to the good coaching, they have the advantage without a doubt. They may not have the God-given talent of the kid that doesn't get good coaching, but they will, when they get to high school, they'll definitely be more prepared.
Okay.
In preparation, obviously, like what you do, it's everything.
Yeah.
So, the kids that get private instruction have, definitely have an advantage.
And do you find that your influence on the parents when you're facing, or that you have influence on parents when you're facing that kid in the batting cage that is sitting there going, ugh, I so don't want to be here? Do you feel like it's an obligation on your part to say something? And I'm not trying to call you out and say, oh, you're just doing it for money. I know this is how you earn a living, and everybody, that's all good. But how do you deal with that when you have a kid that's just miserable?
I have told parents point blank, I have a waiting list. And I have told parents point blank, your son really doesn't want to do this. And some of the parents get offended by that. And they tell me, well, yes, they do. But, you can tell, I can actually tell how passionate a kid is by the way he swings the bat.
Wow.
By the way he approaches entering the batting cage.
Sure.
By him asking me what time it is. Those kids have other things on their mind, and they should be doing other things.
Yeah.
Well, it's so interesting because in this video by Coach Geno, he said that he literally can see the state of the mind of the player when they walk in by their body language.
Right.
And he's like, if the body language isn't there,
they aren't playing.
They're not playing. They're on the bench. And, regardless, and we were kind of joking at breakfast with my dad this weekend that, he has the ability. He's got a deep bench, and he's UConn, and, they're how many championships have they won? But the reality of it is that he's saying, I don't care. Like, if I have to bench them all.
Yeah.
So you're in a little bit different position because, the parent's paying you. You can't, watch a kid walk into the batting cage going, hey, what time is it? And say, okay, you're out. Yeah. Or can you? And do you feel like you might do it a favor if you do that?
Well, I've never really kicked a kid out of the cage for not being passionate, and I try to find common ground of where we can work together, and my job is to make that kid better, and my job is also to make sure that kid enjoys his half hour or hour. Whether he's going to be a professional athlete or not, probably not, because the ones that don't want to be there usually don't wind up playing baseball for a living.
Right.
It's kind of like you never see when the coach says, come on, everybody sit down in the dugout, you'll never see the best player sitting at the end of the bench. Right. The best player is always going to be sitting in the middle of the bench. So he's getting time with that coach. Yeah. Whether he knows it or not, that's what makes him the best player.
And do parents really walk in thinking my kid's got a shot? Like I want him or her to go pro? Is that why they spend the money with you, or is it that they're? You can't see Eira. She's kind of smiling at me right now, kind of laughing, but I'm serious. It's kind of like when you watch, America's Got Talent, or one of those shows where somebody walks in and they think they can sing and they can't, but they're spending money on singing coaches and all of that. Do parents really come to you going, get my kid to the majors?
There's all the wrong reasons to seek out private instruction, but there's some right reasons too. For instance, a kid where the parent acknowledges that the child isn't super talented. Well, coming to me and the idea of that child knowing that what he was taught is right then translates into confidence.
Sure.
It may not translate into home runs.
Yeah.
So that would be the right reason.
Yeah.
The wrong reason is if you have a kid that basically doesn't want to be there and you make him be there because his friend comes in to see me, that's the wrong reason.
Yeah.
And that happens a lot. And believe me, I don't turn them away. But you know, I mean, you can tell. And a lot of it is mothers. We keep talking about fathers. A lot of it is moms.
This is what we're worrying about.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's status there.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if part of the status, I mean, it's amazing how many kids go to me and then go to their quarterback coach.
Right.
And then go to the mental toughness coach.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, these kids spend all day, every day, working on a craft that, in theory, is not going to make them a living someday.
It's incredible.
And, you know, one of the things, Mike, I shared with you when we talked a couple of weeks ago about what Eira and I do at the distillery. And one of the things that we look at are kids that are transitioning either, you know, out of college athletics or even from high school. Like, one of the things that we see, and in our research, we haven't really attacked it yet, is that, you know, like you're saying, most of these kids aren't going to play professional sports, but their parents are setting them up. And I'm not trying to make parents look bad. I'm just really kind of curious. Like, their parents are setting them up for that's where you're going to go with almost blinders. And how do you try and tell a parent at that stage who is investing a lot of money that, hey, equally invest time, not just doing homework or making sure they're getting an education, but really helping them find maybe that's something that they can pursue beyond sports if it doesn't happen?
Yeah, that's a tough one because a lot of parents don't want to, you know, I mean, a lot of parents don't want to believe the reality that, I mean, you know, if you look at the lifespan of an NFL player, the average lifespan, and luckily, baseball, baseball families I think, are more financially sound than a lot of football families.
Sure.
So the graduation rate is higher amongst baseball players. They fit into a different economic category as a whole, not every single one of them, but as a whole. So, you know, we find guys going into sports marketing, into the news, you know, with the jobs and, you know, social media. So there's a lot of cross-referencing that these kids can do, you know, when they get out of college to stay involved in the sport.
So it's almost kind of igniting their interest in all the aspects of sports, not just playing it, right? What you're saying is there's so much you can do around sports nowadays that, you know, that's
a lot more, you know, a lot more than when I was younger.
Do you feel
I stay in contact with a lot of my players that have gone into sports management, you know, sports marketing. Even I've got kids that work for sports agents.
Sure.
You know, so people find a way to stay involved in the game itself without playing it.
And do you find that that's something as a coach? I mean, I know you're with them for a half hour, an hour, whatever, however many times a week, but do you find as a coach that's something that you influence the kid on directly? Like, do you ever talk about that to say, hey, you know, not to be a downer, not to say you're not going to make it, but, you know, what the realities are?
You know, it's funny you should say that because I've in addition to private instruction, I also coach travel teams and I've had a travel team for the last 27 years. And we talk about more than just baseball. And look, baseball's a pretty stagnant game. You got to be mentally tough. But I mean, baseball players aren't necessarily talking about baseball during the 162 game season in the dugout.
Right.
It would get a little monotonous.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, we discuss, you know, what do you want to be when you grow up? And a lot of times the answer, believe it or not, during private instruction, a lot of times the answer is not, I want to be a baseball player.
Yeah, all that. They have other things on their minds.
Which is good because chances are they're not going to be.
Yeah, exactly.
Somebody was just trying to call in, so if they're listening, please try again. because we saw the call, but we didn't get there fast enough. Now, I'm curious about this, and I promise that I won't make you tell any really, really bad stories about what my dad was like around.
Yeah.
But, you've got parents who probably are, they call them helicopter parents, or parents that are trying to influence you as a coach as well. Does that happen more frequently than not? Or, are parents pretty cool? They kind of let you do what you need to do?
For the most part with me at 53 years old, I think that parents generally know better. And one of the things that I try to do that sometimes I wonder if everybody, I try to be fair, and that word's a really strong word. Yeah. Do I have favorites? Yes, I'm human. Your brother was one of my favorites. But, for the most part, my reputation is probably to not go up and talk to me about playing time.
Right.
2 years ago, I had a grandparent walk up to me in front of the team and ask me, or sort of question me, regarding his grandson's pitch count. And I told him that he was to take his grandson and go home.
Wow.
And find a team where he would throw less pitches.
Wow.
Because I'm not in the business of hurting arms.
Yeah, exactly.
So to even suggest that, and the timing was awful. It's like you're questioning me about pitch counts in front of 14-year-olds.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is the worst thing you could do.
Right, and
But
after the game too, I'm sure.
Yeah, right after the game. Of which his pitch count wasn't high, by the way. So, it was just like Grandpa needed to be important for that 2 minutes.
Sure.
And he could have picked a different subject, but he didn't. So he had to take the boy home.
Well, and one of the big topics of discussion always seems to be whether or not you encourage your child, or if you're a coach, your athlete to specialize or to spend some time in multiple sports, cross training. Do you have a perspective one way or the other?
I think that myself, I played all three sports until I was 18. I never played one pitch of baseball during any of the other sports seasons. I love the idea. I think that playing football, or, my views have changed on playing football recently with all of the data that's coming out regarding concussions.
Sure.
But up until a few years ago, I was a huge fan. I think that karate, I think that football, I think that basketball, I think that all of the crossover sports made me better in each one.
Right.
No doubt about it. And plus I was passionate about playing the sport because I was so sick of the sport before when it was over. So you kind of look forward to
it was time to do something else.
Over. It's back to, these kids in California especially, it's not uncommon to play 200 baseball games a year.
Right.
And if we're talking about arm care, there's got to be some data somewhere where it's probably not a good idea to throw 300 or 400 innings a year.
And we are seeing, training evolve. Even I think across the professional level, we're seeing athletes spending more time maybe doing resistance band training and swimming as opposed to what we usually considered to be necessary, the heavy lifting, heavy weight training, that kind of thing. So I think people are seeing it across the board. It just has to
genetics are coming into play now, where where people can find ways to be to be healthy when they wouldn't have been had they not done it.
Sure.
Right. So, like bench presses are out. The days of 120-pound dumbbells are out.
Yeah, you don't need it anymore.
There's band training and, like I said, fusionetics and a lot of different sort of training aids.
Yeah.
So if a parent comes to you and says, look, obviously you're instructing, you must be instructing year round. So obviously there are parents who are focused on specializing their kid, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you talk to them about not?
I would say that with my client base, including my team, more than 75% of the kids, and my team is a good team. They're very good. They're 13 years old and they're well trained and well disciplined. Yeah. I'd say that 75% of my team goes to a GATA or a Tighter U, a training center outside baseball. which is another financial sort of investment.
Yeah, I'm sure.
People are spending a lot of money trying to make their kids into athletes. Right. They really are.
Well, and I want you to know that Ray did join us, so he's been on watching, just so you know, and so is Betsy Davis, and we appreciate everybody who's on watching us right now. Maybe that was him who tried to call in. I don't know. We'll see.
By the way, I call your dad Mondo for the middle infielder. Because Ray is not the name of the middle infielder, but Mondo is. So we started calling Ray. Mondo, the middle infielder.
I love that.
See, there's that little bit of information that now I can take home and use. Thank you so much.
If you call him, Wendy, if you call him Mondo, he will crack up.
Well, I can guarantee you I'm going to be calling him that from now on. That's so funny. So, okay, listen, what happens when you have a kid? Again, I want to go back to this whole idea that kids are really into this me, not so excited to be on a team, or maybe focused, especially if they start to show, promise in on a track that could at least get them into university under scholarship or whatever. What are you doing, Mike, as a coach? Because one of the things, again, I'm using this article about Coach Geno just because it was so relevant to everything we've been talking about. He was talking about coaches also being responsible for creating this scenario where the kids are really not
they're focused on themselves and their own statistics and their own performance rather than as the team's collective effort and what is best for the team, really.
So I ask you as a coach and advice for parents, like when you see your kid, doing that, what is it that we can do, or what should you be doing to break that cycle? Because that it just doesn't seem like it's going to end up in a good place.
Yeah.
The truth is that yes, we can blame the parents, but I think that it's sort of like my children spend more time with their teachers than they do with me, for most of the school year. So it's the same thing with my travel teams. Is I'm responsible for how this person sort of learns how to act and react to different situations, how to be a good teammate. We hear about it all the time. What are the things? Because baseball's a very, nobody's setting picks, nobody's kicking out on the defensive end to open the hole. In baseball, it's 9 or whatever it is, 25 individuals forming a team.
Sure.
And the way that you treat your teammates, the way that you treat the opposition, the way you treat the coaching staff, it's all very important. Because you're really only up for about 4 minutes per game.
It's like actually kind of crazy, actually, when you think about it.
And each game lasts 2 hours and 40 minutes.
Yeah.
So really, the rest of the time you're either with your teammates on the field or with your teammates in the dugout. And how you treat them is a reflection of who you are.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that, as I've gotten older, becomes more and more important is. How do you share your character with your teammates? If it's a negative thing, then we need to make sure that you play somewhere else.
Yeah.
Because we don't have room for that. You've got to put your teammates before yourself.
And are kids understanding that? Like, do they see it? The value in it to them, taking that stance? I think that
the majority of my kids embrace it.
Right.
Embrace
That's
it.
great.
There's something to be. When you accomplish, when you accomplish good character, it's rewarding. People say nice things about you.
Right.
And when people say nice things about you, it becomes, it's like the healthiest drug in the world is having good character and knowing that people are always saying nice things about you.
Yeah. And even if you don't get it,
by the way, it makes it a little easier when you have good character. It makes it a little easier to strike out 3 times in a game.
Sure.
Because
and to strike out later in life because you've been there, you've learned to do that and be okay with it.
Well, again, that's one of the things that Eira and I talk about with our athletes is that when you are growing up in an athletic structure, that you have to be a part of a team.
Yeah.
That you are going to
sure.
fail. That you have to go out of your comfort zone all the
Sure.
time. That you're actually very privileged because you're learning techniques for how to deal with those things and how to work in that structure that many people have to wait until they get out and into their jobs in a
Sure.
career until they're in their 20s and 30s and
what's so important, I think, about being part of a team is that even if you don't realize it at the moment, you certainly get it later in life, that you've
Right.
developed social skills that, certainly in this day and age, in this generation that is so focused on the self, and we have less reason to have to sort of go out of our comfort zone and
Right.
connect to people because we have the smartphones and we have the tablets and we
Right.
have all these things that keep us engaged but disconnected.
right.
And so
Right.
we're seeing these kids who are now early adults and don't have those social skills because they never really had to be a part of a team to do
Right,
anything.
right.
So there was such a huge benefit, I think, to being, a member of a sports team because you grow up and you realize, I know how to connect to people. I know
Right.
how to, like Mike was saying, share the good and the bad.
Right.
And not just your own skills, but really be able to take joy in watching what your team members are doing.
Right, and that rolls on after you're out of sports.
Yeah.
Then you have a skill set that you are now competitive in the world, in the world of industry or
And
wherever,
you enter
whatever
the
you choose to
workforce
do.
and you know how to operate within
Exactly,
it.
because
Sure.
you've had to do that. We do have a call in.
So
Mike, hold on one
that being-
second. We have a call in. Let's see who's
That,
there.
that being said, we talk about the parents
Mike,
that,
can
they
I just-
push the private,
Mike,
Hello?
can I interrupt you for one sec? We have a call in. I just want to say hello to the caller.
okay.
Hello,
Who is that?
this is Peggy Rosenthal.
Hi, beautiful.
Peggy Rosenthal?
Hi, how are you, beautiful?
Well, hi there. How are you?
I'm okay. We got a caller.
We got a
How are you,
caller.
Peg? How are you? Where's the middle infielder?
Yep, well, the middle infielder's not available today, but his mother
Oh.
is.
Ah, and how's Beamer?
What'd you say?
How's David?
David is good. David is doing pretty
Oh,
good. So,
and the babies are all healthy and love their grandma?
Yep, babies, all the grandchildren are healthy, and the youngest is turning 1, Sam's baby.
Oh, well, I'll have
How
you know
about
one thing.
yours?
Well, I was just going to tell you, Brianna is in high school
Wow, Mike.
and got her driving permit last Thursday.
I can't even believe that. That's unbelievable.
So,
Unbelievable.
so
It
Peggy,
is true. Go ahead.
Peggy, I want to ask you because you've called in and we really appreciate that. You worked with Mike when he was
I did.
coaching David. So can you tell us what the value of having a professional instructor come into your son's life and what it meant to his growth?
I can so be happy to tell you what it was like having Mike work with our son. Our son was probably, I believe, 6 years old when Mike started working with him, all the way up to, 15? And I would say it was priceless. Not only did David learn how to become a good sport when he didn't want to be a good sport, how to be a team player, a team member, to be responsible for his own actions, whether he played well or he didn't. And there were plenty of times he wanted to break his bat, throw his bat, quit the team. I have a funny story, and here's one of the ways I would say how I would say Mike has been so valuable to our family is at one point when David was really not playing well according to himself, Mike played him to help him overcome whatever struggle he was having. And he got up to hit the ball, and when he bat at the ball, and when he missed, he turned to Mike and said, "If you were a good coach, you wouldn't have played me because I stink."
I remember that.
And honestly, that was one of the things that absolutely helped David, helped all of us, helped Ray, who is my husband, who was also a coach, learn lessons that aren't just get up to win, but get up to feel good about yourself, be a team member, because I believe so many of the parents, we had incredible teams, also need sportsmanship lessons. And I think that's really one of the most important gifts, having somebody not only teach your kids the skills they need in order to play well, feel good about themselves, and when they don't play well is really the key, is what I would say, is remaining being a good sport. And there are plenty of times, like the parents and husbands and fathers of the kids that are coaches and also don't handle themselves very well. And I think that the way, Mike, you have taught our family, all the kids on our team for all those years are better kids and have gone out into the world, regardless if they play sports and high school. And our son played incredible high school. He got asked to be on a team at a college because he learned from the best. So I think
that's so sweet.
sportsmanship and skills are the key. And I think keeping the parents in check with the priority isn't just winning. It's not winning at all.
Such great insight.
Yeah, Peggy, really, actually, you fit right into what we were talking about.
Yeah.
So we really appreciate your call. One quick question for you. Did you ever, before you go, because we have 5 minutes left, did you ever go into hiring Mike to come and coach David with a thought that David would turn pro? Was that a priority for you and for Dad?
Well, I think in the beginning it wasn't at all, because he was 6. I know that David really wanted to play sports so well to where that wasn't, the priority to play pro. If David could have, he so would have loved to.
Yeah.
He's a little guy, so I think that worked against him. But either way, no. Get the lessons that I would say is, how to manage your life with baseball. If you wanted to play pro, absolutely.
Yeah.
Great.
If David wanted to play pro, I would have absolutely loved that. If he was capable, it's a better way to say it.
Peggy, thank you so much for calling in. We have to wind up. I really appreciate it because you added perspective that we really needed, and I'm glad you and Mike got a chance to connect.
Yeah.
Me too.
Absolutely. I love you, Peggy.
The best. I love you. And see, this is what it did. How many? 24 years, 20 years later.
Oh.
Yeah, well, forever, my dear.
Okay. All right.
All right.
Nice talking to
All right.
you.
Bye, Peg.
Bye, Wen.
Thank you, Peggy.
I just want to say also, Adam, Tyler, and Catherine Corman have joined us and been watching, and we really appreciate you tuning in. Mike, I can't thank you enough. We can't thank you enough.
We've got to keep going and
Yeah.
have so much more to talk
Yeah.
about, but time has run out, unfortunately.
It goes by fast,
Well,
doesn't
flies
it?
by.
maybe we do it again some other time.
We would love
And
it.
I really appreciate you guys caring enough to ask me on the show.
Thank you so much.
We really appreciate it, and we'll talk to you soon.
Yeah.
Have a great day.
All right, you guys take care. Have a
Thank
nice
you.
night.
Really, Eira, just great insight from clearly somebody who affects kids' life. And, it shows the benefits to having a coach. Like, I had not heard Peggy's perspective. I
Right.
mean, I think that's amazing.
Yeah, loved it.
So,
Loved it.
well, thank you again for joining us. A couple of notes before we leave.
Yeah.
So we have some travel plan this month, which is going to make it so we miss our show in 2 weeks, but we will be back on September 26th. We're going to be talking about the home athlete. We want to do a round table, so we're going to bring a few people into the studio with us. Eira and I should say she's more kind of amateur athlete. I'm kind of a home athlete. But, we want to bring a perspective from both personal trainers and those of us who really spend time trying to figure out how to keep ourselves fit.
Sure.
Different ages, different levels. We really hope you will join us. That will be on September 26th. Until then, check out our Facebook page at facebook.com/thedistilleryinc.com for some content leading up to that, since we aren't going to see you in the next couple of weeks. We are also on iTunes. You can check us out there. And we do have a YouTube channel.
And as always, if you have thoughts for future topics or questions or concerns, let us know. We'd love to hear from you.
We would love to hear from you. And again, Jarvis, our security blanket and engineer extraordinaire. I always am amazed. I get to watch you pull things up on air as we're talking, and it's always amazing to
Exactly.
me. Eira, thank you for always being by my side.
Well, thank you,
I
Wendy.
appreciate
for letting
it.
Me be.
And we'll see you in 3 weeks. Until then, we hope you have a fantastic month, and thanks for tuning in.
Thank you, everyone. Goodbye.
Now that you've found UBN Radio and discovered our quality talk shows, it's time to spread the word to friends, family, and the universe. 24 hours of music and talk. Radio without limits. That's why people keep coming back for more. That's UBNradio.com.